Hello everyone. Welcome to today's live stream. I have just come directly from an hour of sketching with people from the Let's Face It community, which was great fun. Today we're going to be working on a portrait of Armand Amar, who is an incredible composer. I have been listening to his album Babazis on repeat, I think, since watching the film Where Olive Trees Weep, which is a very important and powerful film. And the music in it was so moving and such an incredible part of the experience of watching that film. And then that led me to discover a lot of Armand's music, and the Babazis album is particularly incredible, I think. So if you want, you could put some headphones on, look up Babazis on your streaming platform of choice and listen to the music as we draw. I could. No, I won't. I'm just going to be present. And I have the music in my head, actually, so I'll be able to listen to it anyway. It's nice to see so many of you here. Sabra, Linda, June, Ingrid, Kiki, Adam, Corinna. So great. A lot of you were just hanging out with me in Zoom the past hour, so that's really nice. Let's draw. I will show you what I was doing the past hour. Starting with 30-second sketches, focusing on shadow shapes. So I have these themes going through everything I'm doing so far this year. And it was really interesting. Thank you, Linda, so much for your question about reducing the values. It was a really cool session. So thank you to everyone who joined. And we finished with this one off Melissa, which was just so cinematic. It was so nice. It was a really cool session. So thank you to everyone who was there. And now let's draw Armand Amar. Okay, how's everyone doing? I brought 2 drinks with me for my Zoom session and I didn't drink anything. Cold tea. So, we're talking about shadow shapes. Our month of shadow shapes is drawing to a close. And it's interesting. I haven't done it with any of these, but I'm tempted to draw with a pencil before drawing with ink on this, kind of, because there is like super subtle transitions between the value shapes in this. So we have a really stark white background. It looks like really hot. I don't know, I'm just imagining the desert because of listening to Babazis. It was fun, wasn't it, Linda? So I think I'm going to start with some light pencil drawings and talk about the shapes, because that's something we've been focusing on a lot. It'll help me get in the zone as well, because Monday I'll be filming my shadow shapes tutorial for Patreon. I'm going to put a timer on just to kind of keep track of what we're doing, because I said this will be about a 20-minute live stream. For those of you who were just in my shadow shape session for Let's Face It, you could tell me in the chat what was interesting about that session, or this way of looking at images. I find it very interesting. Just looking at shapes is very interesting to me, and kind of surprising and wonderful sometimes, the level of joy that I can experience just by seeing shapes which I think are magical that convey something, that can convey the sense of a person or anything just by making some marks on paper. So the super dark shapes, the darkest value shapes seem to be kind of quite minimal. Around the eyes, mouth, under the nose, a bit at the top of the hair, like at the sides, not so much. Is anyone here familiar with Armand Amar's music. So there's composing seems for soundtracks from a few different films, and it's interesting I guess it's the story and the journey of the film which lends a completely different sound and quality and expression to the music. It's very interesting to notice how his art form applied to a different story can evoke a very different experience. Bonsoir, Isidore. All right, I'll just take a moment to read. June says, I think the variety of faces and shadows was most interesting. Yeah, it was very interesting. Very different lighting situations. Sabra, I found it interesting that the longer you look at low or very high light images or scene, the more shape you see. Yes, your eyes need to adjust. That is so interesting. Yeah, that was really cool. Melissa, it was so great finishing with your pose because that was such interesting lighting. And you find shadow shapes a struggle. You're always focused on the features and the relationship, that the nuance takes second place, but I can see the benefit of this and think you need to squint more. Yes, squint more. Squinting is, I don't know if it's underrated, but is just a wonderful thing that we have immediately accessible to us. Imagine most of us. It was interesting when I first got glasses. I realized that the way I saw things was I had this artistic, atmospheric perspective distortion that the further things got away, the less they were in focus. And when I first put my glasses on, I was like, whoa, I can see everything. It's too much. And I was like, this is not how things look. And I had adjusted to this way of seeing, which I realized was a lot like a lot of paintings that I like. In the distance, the things aren't as important. They don't have to have as much detail to them. And just how your eyes adjust to different situations, different ways of seeing things. It's fascinating. So the transition from the skin tone to the wonderful bright facial hair is really interesting because it's like this soft transition, because it's not like the here we have this really dark hard edge. So I'm drawing all this now, and then I'm going to go into it with ink, and hopefully everything's going to be kind of set up. And but because of all of the soft transitions, I feel like it would be I want to kind of be more aware of where I'm putting things before I get into ink, because there's a really I think a lovely soft quality to the relationship between the value shapes. Linda loves learning shadow shapes. It's difficult to turn off the other side of my brain though and fill in sometimes what I think is there. I just need to practice more in seeing like an artist. Loving the journey. Yeah, that's great. Melissa, you're in dire need of glasses. Maybe that's it. Was it like, I wonder, like the paintings of Monet, these wonderful, like, colorful, impressionistic things. I wonder how many of those impressionists, like, needed glasses, or whether they had just, like, developed this way of seeing things in a certain way. I wonder. Something about Armand reminds me of my grandfather. I feel like I've made him quite broad, which is interesting. But maybe it's just because there's that much space left on this page. Has anyone seen the film Babazis? I have not seen it, though I have listened to the soundtrack so many times. I must watch it someday. I wonder if knowing the music so well before seeing the film will, like, what that will do to me and my experience of the film. Okay, So now I've set a lot of things up for my kind of comprehension of the shadow shapes that I have. We're like about 7 minutes into the drawing, which is interesting. I think it's because I just finished an hour of doing quick sketches. I'm in the mode of putting these shapes down. So yeah, we have like pretty bright. Interesting. Now I start to see in the highlight, like, there's like these highlight shapes. So it's a bit darker here. It's not as dark as over here, but in the middle it's definitely brighter. Although the brightest highlight is not as bright as the shirt or the background. So you starting to develop that, the awareness of these different shapes and values. It's a very interesting journey when you start to notice your expanding awareness. Basically, it's like, I'm seeing shapes that I didn't see before. The first time I looked at this image, I didn't see that, but the more time I spend looking, the more I see. It's super fun to realize that. Okay, so I'll just take a photo of this actually, because it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here. Also interesting because compared to some of the other, I don't feel super content with the likeness. I feel like I've spread things out a bit. Some things are, I could have been more careful with the way I set some of this up, but I'm just going to go for it. It's okay. Maybe this shape could be a bit further over here. I was going to say something. Don't know what. Oh yeah, compared to some of the ink portraits I've been doing that have had like a lot of dark shapes, which have been really interesting. This is pretty limited on the really, really dark shapes. So it's interesting in its differentness compared to some of the others. Like, I know when I'm doing an ink portrait that has a lot of really deep dark shadows that I'm going to be able to, there's a lot I'll be able to do with that. And here, these are the really deep dark shadows. So interesting, there's almost no information in the eye. And that's the feeling I get, like, from this bright background and the squint. It's like it just looks like it's so bright there. And so the shapes that I'm calling my darkest shadow shapes that I see, I'll just fill them in totally dark with the ink. This week, on Thursday, it'll be drawn together again. So that's exciting. We have a wonderful muralist. Anikan is going to be joining us, and I'll be sharing a lot about that in the coming week. Another exciting thing is my mentorship is open for the second round of applicants for registration. If you're interested in learning intimately with me and a small group of other creative people, then go to dylansara.com and look at my mentorship page on there and get in touch, because it's going to be really, really cool. So that was the first 10 minutes. And I will put on another 10 minutes now and see where we get to. See what 20 minutes can bring after an hour of timed portrait sketching. So for those of you who were present for the Zoom session where we just spent an hour drawing, and for those of you who weren't, but particularly those of you who were, maybe you have some experience of it, that I find it so interesting how time seems flexible, starting with those 30-second sketches, and then there's this tiny highlight in this eye shadow over here. Starting with 30-second sketches and then working away to 6 minutes, and now having 10 or 20 minutes. Like, when I was 7 minutes into the drawing, I was kind of like, oh wow, I've drawn so much already in 7 minutes. So it's doing that self-imposed kind of limitation of having a very brief space of time to draw. It's interesting how it makes the whole kind of time awareness and what we think we can do in a given amount of time. It really, my realization of or my understanding, my awareness of time has changed so much since doing all those timed portrait sketching practice. Okay, so that's pretty much my really dark shapes. Over here as well. And then up here. And normally I would borrow a lot of the ink from the really dark shapes to fill out the midtones, but I think in this I'm not even going to have enough ink to take the ink for my midtones, because I'll use a water brush. So I just use the water to pick up some of the pigment from the ink and spread it across the paper. But because there's not much that's really dark here, I might need to find another way to go about it. And maybe just putting down some facial hair hatching. Maybe that will give me some ink. Any additional lines. So here I can draw over these kind of shadow shapes that I've denoted earlier. Anywhere I put ink down is going to give me some ink to borrow and use. So I noticed the first image on this spread of Greta Thunberg, there's a lot of it that after doing the water brush pass, a lot of definition is lost in the ink and the line work, and I enjoy the crisp and distinct line work. But after doing that, I realized, I looked at that piece and I was like, oh, if I went back and drew over it again where the definition is lost, I could add what was lost. So it's interesting just using different techniques and working in different ways to realize what kind of strategies, what kind of sequence to the mark making that we develop to make something cool or develop a way of working with something that feels like interesting and satisfying to work in that way. All right, I think this looks pretty cool now. It's really interesting that the really dark shadow is actually so limited. Have people been saying things? Oh yes, a lot of things in the chat. Feel free to talk in the chat. I love it when you talk in the chat. Nicole says maybe all the old master painters needed specs. They all needed glasses, yeah. Just Asteri said, what I found interesting was how much easier it is to draw in good company. It is, isn't it? It's so good spending time drawing together. I love it. So thank you for being here. I really enjoy drawing with people. And the birthday beard story. Fanny packs. Just drew Lemmy from Motorhead. Cool. I imagine there were some really cool shadow shapes. Linda loved the birthday beard story. Rest in peace, Lemmy. Or rest in power, rest in presence, rest in, or maybe something, yeah, I don't know. Choose your words. Yes, where did you upload it to, Fanny Packs? We want to see it. The shadow shapes also lead naturally and directly into really seeing the planes of the face. Yes, that's it. Jassisteri says, Dylan, I would love to hear about the shape of the face. I get proportions well when I can relate to other aspects, but when there is a vast area without something to anchor to, I lose the proportion. And that is how these learning a perception of these value shapes can really help. because you could use the shadow shapes or the highlight shapes to help you figure out, because you only have 2 eyes, 1 nose and 1 mouth and 2 ears to help you put things together. But the value shapes, there are so many shapes. There's so much information in this photograph that it can really help us find our way around. So as we begin to harness the power of these shapes and understanding and seeing them, that can really help us put things together proportionally. What time for Drawn Together? 8 p.m. Central European time, and there's going to be a time shift. June has to go. Enjoy your lunch. An evil villain in the early ink stage. Yeah, he looks so wonderful, so I hope it's not going to look like that when I'm finished. Yes, Lydia, such a beautiful documentary. C, hello, you just found this channel. I've really enjoyed the demonstration. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Sarah, thank you for your help with shadows. Enjoyed both sessions. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now I'm going to put some water on this. I paused my timer. Oh no, I didn't. I thought I did. So I've only got 3 minutes left. I thought I had paused the timer at 5 minutes when I started reading. So, water brush. So what I would usually do, and I'm hoping it's going to work, I'm going to the really dark shadow shapes. I'm going to take ink from the blackness and fill as much as I can of the darkest shadow shapes. And it instantly gives a sense of depth and structure to the portrait. It's so cool. And it warps the page. Oh, it's not bad. It doesn't matter that there's not that much ink on there. It's enough just for this reduced way of borrowing pigment to move around the portrait. I was kind of apprehensive about, am I going to have enough ink on here to do what I want to do? But I think it totally works. Wow, I'm surprised. So now I'll squeeze a bit more water out because I don't want anything to be really white apart from the beard in the background. So the highlights, I'm just putting very diluted watery, but this is a bit darker. Anyone who's not seen Where Olive Trees Weep, who Armand Amar, who we are drawing, did the score for, it is very important and powerful documentary, which was filmed in the West Bank of Palestine in 22, I think it was filmed. Yeah, I did a live stream last year where we drew a bunch of portraits from that film, and yeah, it's a very important piece of work, and it's interesting in the context of something so heavy and powerful, and just seeing the daily lives of these normal people. How the sound, the music is such an important layer, such an powerful part of the film. Something which is just powerful anyway. How the music, like, it really is so transportative, and it's quite incredible. But I don't think you can listen to that on Spotify. But Babaziz is a really beautiful soundtrack, so look that one up, because it's a beautiful musical journey. That was my second timer. Now I'm wondering, is there something right at the end of this that I can do is there something it needs? I think maybe some more facial hair and stuff. Is there anything that's lost definition that I would like to bring definition back to? Lilo Fadenfish, what kind of pen I use? Thank you for asking. This is Pilot parallel pen, 3.8 millimeter, with Pelican Brilliant black ink, which I've only recently, through the discussion of people saying, oh, it's really tricky using this ink in this pen can do this on Hanamüller Nostalgie paper. So it's a combination of the pen, the ink, and the paper, because this is quite a smooth paper that I really enjoy using. It's warping a bit, which maybe you can kind of see. But it can take some moisture, which is really good for doing this, because I put a lot of water on the page for this. Interestingly, the ink doesn't seem to, I don't know, is ink drier than water? Putting water, like washing the paper with water, really seems to warp the paper in a way that, I guess that when I put a lot of ink down, it also kind of buckles, but it's a bit different. As I think in the beginning I mentioned that Monday I'm going to be working on my shadow shapes tutorial for my Patreon. And if you're interested in that, please check out the link in the description, where I will be condensing every insight and exploration from the past month into one incredible tutorial. I have some ideas of what I'm going to do, some things that have really kind of been impactful for me in this practice in the past month that I would love to share. So I make monthly tutorials on my Patreon. If that sounds good to you, then check out the link in my description. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Like this video, subscribe to my channel. We're doing this every day. I would love you to come back and keep drawing with us every day. Okay, I feel like adding all these scratchy lines has really been worth it. It feels really cool. Like there was this wetness, the washy, indistinct kind of quality after putting the water around and spreading ink around, and just coming back with the pen has given it, yeah, I feel like, I don't know, it kind of grounded it. Like it was so wet and indistinct and dreamy, which just can be amazing, but I enjoy the quality that adding all of this line work to it has added. Okay, how's everyone doing? Karina has to go and has put a drawing hand emoji in the chat. If you've made it all the way to the end of this live stream, please put a drawing hand emoji in the chat like Karina just did. I think that's it. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. At some point I was like, whoa, I've made it really broad. I think it was this, and I'm glad I noticed, the angle of the neck. I had it like out here, and by catching that and bringing it in, I feel like transformed the whole thing. If the neck was over here, it would have such a different kind of vibe. So I'm pretty happy with how that's turned out. Now is also a phase where it's like, oh, I could take some more of that ink, and some of these areas I see they could be a bit darker. You can just kind of keep going, can't you? But you can also just stop. So thank you everyone who has joined here. Thank you Amand Amar for your incredible music and work. The soundscapes that we're able to journey through with the help of your compositions. Thank you to each of you for being here. And I look forward to drawing with you tomorrow, this time, 9:30 Central European Time, tomorrow. I would love you to come back and draw with me again on my YouTube channel. I'm not going to show a Procreate portrait today because I'm going to read to my 11-year-old. Tomorrow, maybe. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for all those drawing hand emojis. See you, Lewis. Pleasure to be with all of you. Yes, indeed. This is amazing. Thank you so much, Linda. You're amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being here and drawing together. Take care and hopefully see you tomorrow.